Could you imagine organizing a conference against black people, homosexuals, Asians? Could you imagine organizing a conference calling for their death, their eradication? Could you imagine such a conference? Well, you don't have to imagine it, people, because in Detroit for the second year in a row, there was one hosted locally by some very, very unfriendly people to Israel, to Jews, and to America. But you probably didn't even know it happened. Welcome back to the Rant Network, everybody. I'm David Solomon, flying solo. Today, Stuart is out due to technical reasons. I am here. We are the Rant Network, where every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, noon Eastern, we rant about all these topics, mostly about politics, culture, and the absurdity of life. We bring to the forefront all of the issues that really are really spoken in hushed tones and in homes, in other conversations. So sit back today as I unravel one more of those type of things that scratching your head going, why are we not screaming loudly? So I don't really care if you're Jewish, Muslim, Christian, Buddhist, Hindu. I don't care what you are. Well, when you live in North America and you accept to live in our society, tolerance is one of the words that you hear. Now, the folks at the DEI will tell you it's about inclusivity, right? Diversity, equity, inclusivity. But what you found when you talked about DEI is it really wasn't true to its form. The DEI was not including everyone, it's including some because others cannot be included, which includes Jews. And Jews have been excluded for generations. This isn't new. Racism, anti Semitism isn't new. We're used to it. We got into it. Unfortunately, we're dealing with it again. It's been ramped up and has been accepted in modern society. Now, in the post George Floyd era, it's amazing to see how many people have twisted what they fought for. They fought for equality and more tolerance, and they have become the most intolerant of people. And they tie themselves up and ally themselves up with people like these extremists in order to further their cause. The whole notion of gays for Palestine is like chickens for KFC. We've heard that numerous times, and yet they continue to tie themselves to this group. And this group has decided to take it one step further by holding a conference in Detroit, which was called the People's Conference for Palestine. Now, it's an ironic name and it's a twisted name. But let me tell you a couple of the people who were speaking at this conference, ladies and gentlemen, because it's really, really, really important for you to know that the folks that they brought in to talk about this, well, they're not exactly the nicest folks that you're going to possibly meet. But hey, look, why should we matter? It's only Jews, right? So let's talk about the fact that in there you brought in some former terrorists who were brought into the country. So, for example, Hussam Shahin was sentenced by Israeli authorities to almost 30 years in prison during the early 2000s for murder and conspiracy to commit murder. That's who you're bringing in there. Other former prisoner, Omar Assaf, was formerly, pardon me, an official of the Democratic Front for the Liberation of Palestine. Now, the DFLP is not listed as a U.S. terrorism group, but it's been targeted by sanctions. He came to the country, no problem. Other attendees included Raja Abdul Haq, who was listed on the conference's website as the co-founder of the Quds News Network. Basically, he was thrown off of Twitter back in 2019 because of alleged ties to terrorism, and they don't care what they report, but they're being quoted by West and left media, right? The things that you see, the Al Jazeera sources and all that. Guess who do you think they get some of that information from? The Quds News Network. And in case you wanted to know, Quds refers to Jerusalem. It's all about twisting a narrative. Okay, it's unbelievable. Other platforms have thrown him out, but it doesn't matter. He's got a voice box. Wassim Ahmed, another speaker, is listed on the human rights advocate with Al Haq, an entity accused by the Israeli government of having ties to the PFLP, the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine. And in meantime, former Congress candidate Huwada Araf was slated to speak. Is known for being the co-founder of the International Solidarity Movement, which has been previously investigated by the FBI by possible ties to terrorism. Do you see a trend here? You've invited terrorists into Detroit to talk to the people about eradicating Israel, Jews, and really, in fact, the destruction of the state of Israel. It's on and on. There are more and more and more and more and more people. But you know who was there too? Rashida Talib, the queen bitch of the party, who's decided that as an American Palestinian, she has the right to say what she wants and criticize Israel without fact. And she knows that the media will either quote her properly or not at all because they want to bury the stories that she is and the insinuations that she's made. But Republican Buddy Carter, a Republican sorry, Representative Buddy Carter, a Republican from Georgia, wants to really censor her because he's accusing Tlaib of vilifying her colleagues, endangering the lives of Jewish people, and celebrating terrorism. Did you hear what she said in her conference? Her conference was unbelievable. She's like claiming that people are scared. People send her videos and messages of people protesting in front of the district office. People are showing up at their town halls. And I was like, we're not all related. Those are fellow Americans. Maybe you should meet with them and listen. She continues to vilify the United States. She continues to swear at and condemn the US's support for the ally in the Middle East. Rashida Tlaib wants to see the United States cut ties with Israel. She's supporting the people who wants to destroy democracy, Western democracy. She is bringing them in happily to talk, to be at this conference, to share a podium with them. She's thrilled. Watch the video. It's unbelievable to leave. Now, it's what's even crazier is that Aisha Nizar is an activist, so-called, with the Palestinian Youth Movement, and that person wants to discuss disrupting the U.S. supply chain for F-35 combat aircraft. The bottom line is that this person wants to disrupt supply chain, not just to disrupt what goes on with Israel, but to hurt America. Think about who you've just invited to this conference. Now, I understand the notion of free speech. I am totally like, I understand you don't want to censor people because then there's no limit to censorship. I totally get it. But I'm a little bit pissed off right now today at both the Republicans and the Democrats. Okay? The Republicans, why are you not throwing these people out on their ass? How did you let them into the country? Like, these are terrorists. They're terrorists. They're criminals. They've come in. They're on a watch list. I am sure that, Interpol has something on them. The Israeli government will be very happy to share with you information about these terrorists, and you let them into the country. Marco Rubio, you just stopped Abbas and the rest of the Palestinian leadership saying they don't get a visa to come to the United States. So how did these guys get in? How did they get into the country? And if they're living in the United States, how are they not being thrown out of the country? Threatening the U.S., threatening her allies? I thought that was a crime. So I'm trying to understand today where the Republicans are at when it comes up to these things. If Leo Terrell and the rest of the Republicans are talking about, hey, we're here to protect the Jewish people and we're here to support Israel and so on and so forth, where are you to stop this conference? Where are you to deny these people the ability to talk in front of a crowd? Now, what you didn't see also was that children were being led wearing keffiyehs and singing from the river to the sea, Palestine shall be free. Brainwashing tomorrow's youth, tomorrow's leaders, the youth of today. I mean, this is sick, no? You know what this reminds me of? And I'll get to the Democrats in a second. This is how Hitler started in the 1930s. Rallies, youth movements, uniforms. Think about it. That's how Hitler started. And that's what you're seeing right now in the United States, other parts of the world too. But what you're seeing in the United States with conferences like this, and a leader like Rashida Talib wearing a keffiyeh proudly in defiance and vilifying Israel, vilifying the United States, claiming that more Americans support her and her misguided cause. She believes that America is turning on Israel. It's the Democratic Party that's turning on Israel. And that's my piss off. The Democrats themselves have turned themselves away because the socialist wing of the party has been pulling hard left. Bernie Sanders, AOC, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, Cory Bush, and on and on and on and on, want to see the destruction of the state of Israel. They want to see the destruction of the state of Israel. They want to see Jews eliminated from her homeland. That's their goal. Every time there's an opportunity to vote, that's what they do. And in the recent Democratic meeting that happened in Minnesota, they were pulling and pushing the party to just cut Israel off at the knees. Imagine, if you will, that their belief to so-called peace in the Middle East is to get rid of Jews. That'll bring peace. No, that'll bring conquest. That will completely eliminate not only Jews, but Christians, Druze, other sects will be gone because there'll be nobody to protect them. The irony of it all, folks, is that the people who are protecting Christianity and other religions more than anybody else in the region is Israel. But nobody else. Not the Pope, no one. And so if you get rid of Jews, then you'll get rid of everybody else. It'll be Judenrein, which is elimination of Jews, but you're going to get rid of everybody else. You'll purify the area with only Muslims. That's it. The Arab conquest will be complete. That's what we're looking for. That's what you call peace in the Middle East. That's why there's these wars. That's why they're fighting. Saudi Arabia doesn't want to see Iran be the big leader, and they know, okay, we have no choice. We have to make nice with Israel, as did 4 countries during the Abraham Accords. But here we are, Democratic Party, instead of standing side by side with the only democracy in the Middle East, the only one who really supports the United States blindly. Let's cut her off at the knees. Let's bring in more radicals like Rashida Talib into the party, like Zoran Mamdani, like others. Let's continue to promote AOC and Bernie Sanders with their absolute radical ideologies to hurt Israel. Now, you don't have to like the Bibi government, and this has got nothing to do with Benjamin Netanyahu. And please don't even come to me, but what about Bibi? That's Bibi derangement syndrome, just like you might have Trump derangement syndrome. Leave Bibi alone. Look at the people, the 9 million people of Israel. You've got 2 million Arabs living there in peace, equality. They're judges, they're doctors, they're part of society, equal members of society. Muslims, Arabs, Jews, Christians, Druze, Basque, you name it, they're all part of society there. You'd want to preserve that, no? Or do you want to see her sink? Because that is what Rashida Talib and her merry crazies in Detroit did last week. It wasn't about an establishment of the state of Palestine. They could care less. It's all about eradication of Jews. Because if you wanted to bring in people to establish a state, then bring in diplomats. Bring in people who want to talk about how are we going to divide up their airspace? How are we going to share electricity? How will we share resources in an area? No, you brought in terrorists. You brought in people who were, so-called doctors against genocide. You brought in all these people who only want to see the destruction of the state of Israel. That, ladies and gentlemen, is what this conference is about. It's not about establishing a state for Arabs. It's not it at all. Because they could have had it numerous times. Because if they really wanted it, the negotiation was there. But they didn't. They didn't bother. Because there's only one goal. And it's Hamas's charter. The eradication of Jews from the land of Israel. A state of Palestine from the so-called river to the sea. That's what they want. And that's what they did at this conference. And that's why I'm mad today at all of these politicians who let this go. It's time to get rid of Rashida Talib. She should be taken out as a congresswoman. She has defied her vow, her oath to the U.S. Constitution. She has shown her disdain for the United States, the hate for the United States, and her destruction. She's not looking for her best interest because Israel is in America's best interest. Technology, medicine, cyber, military, you name it. Israel is one of the greatest allies America has, and she wants to see it eliminated. And that, ladies and gentlemen, goes against America's best interests. You elect people like that, she should be taken out. Her and all the rest of these crazies. And these conferences should not be held where you're promoting hate, where you're allowing hate to be spewed, and children, 6-year-old children, listening to this, going home saying, kill Jews. Fucking amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it for this week's edition of the Rant Network. We hope you've enjoyed this, or at least taken something out of this. We were generally unedited, uncensored, unfiltered, and I certainly am not unapologetic today. We'll be back again on Monday. Have a good weekend.